Now while the BE6E is being touted as that fun, sporty, aggressive EV, this one, the XEV 9e, is like the more luxury theme, the softer, calmer one. And you notice that in the way it looks, it's much longer. It's about 4.7 meters long compared to the 4.3 meters of the BE6e. And we'll start with the face. Now this sticks to that broadly, very broadly to the XUV theme somewhat in terms of it looks, but of course it's been completely rebodied, but it's softer. You can see that the surfacing is softer, the details are there a bit milder, they're not as aggressive. You have slightly different arrangements for the LED lighting. You have a full width lighting signature here instead of the C motif and that. The lighting is more layered, a bit more premium if you will. Now what isn't different is the wheel size. Now they're again 20 inches. The suspension components, the architecture underneath is completely identical between the two. So you have that inboard suspension, that semi-independent front suspension, and you have the same 202 mm of ground clearance. And again, very similar design motifs. That sculpting that you see is quite nice. You have a bit less of that contrasting black, but it's still there. Now even the roofline, it's a bit less aggressive. It's a bit more flowing. It's got that fastback look, a bit more of it, which I think really does look quite nice. I don't know the widths yet, but I don't think it's much wider than the coupe that I just showed you. But yeah, this is what the back looks like. Again, it's a bit softer, a bit more premium with the silver, more chrome. There's a touch bit more chrome here, as you can see, and a slightly less aggressive bumper. Now in terms of boot space, this is meant to be more practical. So you have 650 liters of boot space here, and this neat load cover, and a 60-40 split along with a 12-volt charger. Now again, you have a spare wheel here too. Again, it's not full size, but it's there. It's a good thing that it's there, considering that the motor actually sits underneath it. So good on Mahindra to do it. Now I must talk about the lighting signatures. Now it's slightly different, but look at how cleanly this indicator merges with the red. It's some very high quality LEDs that are being used here, but again, very different from that very aggressive theme that you saw in the 6E. Now the doors open 90 degrees just like in the BE6E, but immediately, as you can see, it's a softer, more comfort themed place. You have sunshades to begin with, and here you notice that some of the components seem shared with the XEV, unlike everything that's completely new here. For example, I noticed these door handles, for example, these speaker covers, very minutely they're shared with the XEV, but they're there. Now you have sunshades here going with that more aggressive thing, but I must say again, quality has taken a big step forward. So this is soft here, all these materials are soft. You have gloss black here, it's the buttons, the window switches, even the action of the windows, they have that smooth flow, that slightly luxurious thing to it, which I think is genuinely commendable. Now the wheelbase is the same at 2775 if I'm not wrong. So there isn't that much of a difference in outright space, but this is a more comfortable space. Yes, you do have that flat floor, that EV architecture. Now I must say, with the whole seating arrangement, Mahindra has been able to place this slightly higher up. So even though the floors are roughly the same height, I have more under thigh support, which is quite commendable. And I also have this really quite neat recline function. Now again, these are accessories, but you do have Type-C charge ports here, 45 watt. The BE6E also had it. You have AC vents here, small pocket here, and this. Now this bench, unlike the very tight, cozy ones in the BE6E, they are a bit flatter. They're more for traveling, I guess. More traditional Mahindra buyer probably will appreciate this. The contouring is still nice. It's slightly soft. It's not quite as aggressive or as European as the BE6E felt, but yeah, this is a more familiar beast, so to speak. But again, you have the lighting pattern on the roof. That's not different at all. And the Harman Kardon audio system. And you also have a Boss function for this seat, which I'm sure many will like. Now again, you will notice some hints of the XUV 700 here in terms of how these buttons are, in terms of the lock switch or the general arrangement of the door. But again, everything has taken a big step up. I really like this textures here, this soft material here. Again, the buttons have changed. They're very high tech, very tactile, very nice to use. And yeah, the steering wheel is again that new steering wheel. It's not that squarish shape that the BE6E has. It's a bit more formal in that sense. It's squarer, it's easier, lighter to use. You have again that same variable ratio, so it's a bit more friendly, I must say, in everyday driving. It should be the same, but I cannot miss the highlight, which is this wide 43-inch bank of screens. Now essentially they are the 10.25-inch screens, another one added for the passenger. Again, you have all the nice functions. It has that Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, which is really, in the very little time that I spent with it, it looks really sharp, really quick to respond. The graphics, the colors are really quite bright. You have news, you have all the connected apps like the Instagram and so on. You have these performance meters, which is really quite nice. You can choose a 0 to 100, which by the way in this car is about 0.7 slower, so 6.8 to 100. The power and torque figures are the same, 285 PS and 380 Newton meters. You have an off-road screen, you have a racing screen, which is pretty decent. And yeah, so pretty much everything that you would want in a screen is there. It's got wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, it's got all the weather apps, the head-up display, which is a really neat addition, I must say. It's not, now the head-up display, it's a neat addition. It's not the projector types, it projects directly onto the screen, so it's a higher grade setup. The BE6e also had it. You have inbuilt navigation, so that's quite nice. And this, you have the same drive modes. You have the region modes, of course, here, but you also have those 3 drive modes and 3 mood settings here with the ambient lighting and the lighting on the roof that also works with this. Now, as for that screen, I as a driver can still see it, which is a bit different, but here you get all your connected tech and so on. So the passenger does not have that much control, but he does have enough to just know what's happening around him. He can watch YouTube or so on here. Now, what has changed is this central console. Now it's slightly minimal. You have some touch panels here, the kind that we don't like.